All right, we're now in. Awesome. Okay. Hey everyone, I'm Alex Cox, head of go-to-market here at RevSure. We are excited that you're all joining us today on our RevSure live session. We are very excited to have Alon join us today. Alon has fantastic background in leading marketing teams through all different growth stages. And like I said, we're excited to have him join us today and go through a topic that's close to our hearts and close to his heart. And that topic is no lead left behind, how to ensure everything gets worked, right? Not only to make sure that the marketing lead is generated, but how does it get passed through the funnel, right? How does it get taken care of? How does it get nurtured, so forth and so on. So that's enough about me. Excited to be hosting the call today. And now I'm going to actually just pass it over to Alon to give a little bit of a background on who he is. I'll let him introduce himself. Alon?
Hey, cheers, Alex. Thank you. Hey, everybody. I'm glad to always be here and give maybe a bit of wisdom, but always learn from the wonderful Alex and others like I do always. Just 2 seconds about me. I have dabbled in marketing for many decades, which ages me a tad. And I have led different marketing teams at different stages of startups, mostly in CX, MarTech, selling to brands, e-commerce, retail, and so forth. But a lot of go-to-market SaaS, which is what we're going to talk about a bit today as well. I love enterprise sales. I am a big fan. And something that's very near and dear to my heart is always building an effective and efficient way to drive go-to-market. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today, Alex.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not just going to be across just one topic. It's going to be how everything comes together from go-to-market, right? And something you really hit on, though, that's awesome is, revenue and sales, right? Our best friends from a marketing standpoint, and I oversee sales here too. So really excited to learn from you, and we're going to dive right on into it today. So we have a couple slides here to really help give us some good context, right? 50% of buyers choose the vendor that responds first, right? So when that lead comes in, how well is it nurtured? How fast is it responded to, right? We'd love to hear a little bit about your thoughts here. Like, how do you work with, a lot of organizations have BDR teams, right, that, get these leads first, especially when they're qualified and they're warm. But, give me some thoughts on that from your side, Alon.
Yeah. So first of all, we need to define what's a lead, right? There's hot leads, and then there's warm accounts, more in the account world, but let's stick to the word lead right now. And then there's leads that you want to target, i.e. ICP territory lists, right? The speed to lead, which is a term that we need to use more and more, and people actually don't use it enough, is critically important in usually two scenarios. One of it is a hot lead. Hot lead is defined as a very high intent demo request, talk to sales, I need more information, pricing page. Again, we'll talk later on about how do you define, understand, and prioritize those. But if a lead is defined as hot and it needs to be worked by the relevant function, whether it's a BDR and AE, we'll talk about in a second, speed to lead is critical, especially in the second scenario, which is SMB. The more you get a response quicker to the person asking it, especially if they're on site at the same time. If they're now on site asking for a demo, number one thing is offer them the schedule. Like, let them book that meeting already, or talk to sales, or jump them to a chat, move them across channels. Secondly, if your automation doesn't do that, okay, sure, but are you going to have a 30-second SLA? Like literally 30-second SLA of that being pinged either in Slack, SMS, whatever tool of choice your AEs or BDRs have, and they need to jump on it. And it needs to be maybe assigned to a person who's not on a call right now. Otherwise, why are you going to wait 30 minutes for the person to finish the sales call? So let's dive more into that, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk more about that as we go. One tool we use here is Warmly. Helps us from a chat standpoint, lets us know who's on our website, but also puts them into nurtures automatically, right? Especially if it's after hours, like really late, right? Or something like that, because that's very common as well. And we'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on that as we continue to go. With that being said, right, I'm going to continue to move on. Leads, right? You hear about this, especially once you get to the enterprise, high demand, right? Lead leakage, right? Do leads fall through the cracks? Are the teams really making sure that they get the right leads, right? You talked about, when does a lead become qualified for, a sales team to really go after? We'd love to kind of hear some of your thoughts here, Alon here.
Yeah, so we can spend quite significant time on different aspects here on the problem. So let's first of all define the problem. There's good in the problem, i.e. there's gold to be found, because if you're having the right accounts or leads getting warm or hot and ready to be assigned what is called sales ready, whether it's an SQA, SQL, MQL, like whatever, however you define it, that's a good problem. It means your inbound, all-bound account base, referral, even channel is working. So good for you. Keep doing that and do even more. Now the question is that, okay, I'm drawing a funnel on my pretend whiteboard, right? So you have the right entities coming in. Are they prioritized? Are they sent to the right person, whether it's round robin, whether it's territory, whether it's owned account, whether it's named account, whether it's a BDR and AE pod? Do you have a very simple orchestration workflow that's in place? And we can talk about tools another day to ensure that the lead always gets assigned to the right person. You will be shocked the amount of times are going to companies, and we discover with RevOps that leads are being assigned to an inactive AE that left a month ago. Or that inactive AE gets bumped up to the manager, but never gets pushed down again because the manager is not tasked or doesn't see that as a task in their Salesforce or CRM to, reassign. Those things, it's criminal in my view. Like, you are giving up an ICP hot lead because of process? No, dude, you're paying too much money for those. That's not good.
Absolutely. One way that I've seen this happen actually is if a lead doesn't get touched in a certain amount of time, let's say like 1 hour, right? It's almost a free for all in some organizations. I've seen that, right?
Reassign.
And yeah, it gets reassigned and it just goes to like whoever's here to ready to grab it. And usually that's a quick way to do it because there's somebody hungry at the end of the day, usually within that org. So thanks for sharing that. And I totally agree. There was one time, I was an SDR, right? And then I went into marketing and I would spend once a week making sure that leads, I would actually take my lunchtime and spend in a conference room, make sure that leads were being touched, right? So I totally get with what you're saying there. And just making sure that partnership is strong across the cross teams there, which is awesome. We're going to continue to move on too. Go ahead.
Why don't I give a point on BDRs, for example? I think we should talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversation happening today with true automation and AI coming into place. Like, should hot leads, i.e. a demo request, that hopefully you have the qualification criteria and say, yes, that is an ICP for team A, segment 3 assigned. If you're complex, or if you're simple, it's like, yes, ICP. It's a binary yes. That should be worked. And they have asked for a demo or asked to meet with us, a hot lead. Why do you need a BDR to even meet with them and slow down the process? Why won't you get them immediately to a demo? Well, this is where the lead slipping behind or no lead behind methodology is. Will an AE always you trust them to work on and bring that lead to a meeting if they haven't booked a meeting yet? BDRs do that very well, we know, because that is their passion to really get that done, and that's what they're compensating on. But then the counter to that is, if I'm requesting a demo, I really don't want to have another qualification intro call. If you guys know that I'm a fit, that is not a customer experience. So there's a big debate on that, because the BDR get to the meeting automation, you don't really need a sophisticated human. BDRs should be sophisticated today, and not just 1, 2, 3, get person to a meeting, send a cadence. Tools do that way better today. The question is, can you trust the AE to be immediately owning that and get to a meeting? And this is what is actually enhancing the value and the position and role of the RevOps function and the go-to-market engineer function, that this is truly a data-based orchestration workflow stage in our current tech world, that you can solve this without adding another 3 BDR. So it's a very interesting point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of goes into that qualification period, right? Do they come from a self-serve demo, right, where they already went through it, and now they're ready to go through a more technical demo, right? And instead of hitting that BDR, like you're saying, right, it goes straight to an AE with an SC on a call, and you're halfway through the sales cycle, right? You cut out maybe a month of time, right, in the qualification period. And I think that's one great thing, and that's, the kind of the opposite where you see lack of multi-touch engagement, right? That's a hot lead, right? Would love to hear a little bit about your thoughts of, maybe it's a more of a common situation with leads that come in. They have engaged with you at a couple different places. They're starting to warm up. What are your thoughts on like multi-touch engagement, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about customization and every message needs to be customized. But would love to kind of hear your thoughts as you've been at companies that have really scaled, right? And is it scalable to do this? And, give me some of your thoughts on the multi-touch engagement.
Yeah. So first of all, I like to simplify things. There are 3 funnels which have multiple workflows each. The simple funnel is the inbound hot leads. Let's stick on that. That is what we talked about until now. The hot leads are you requesting a demo or ICP qualified. We throttle the non-ICP at the top, leave them aside. Truly companies you want to talk to that have shown super high intent, i.e. hot lead. Those you got to push through, make them a VIP, get the AE who is available now on it, and like immediately get them through. We know those. The middle funnel are called all-bound, account-based, whatever you call it. And then there's an outbound funnel, which we know what it is. Very low conversion, a lot of cranking it. I hate this differentiation. My mantra is never work a cold account ever. And that's the job of marketing, go to market as a whole. And that's why the middle funnel is my favorite, what you talked about, which is what I call the warm accounts, right? Now, what does warm mean? Well, that is a subjective, specific to every company, and also could be segment, mid-market versus enterprise verticals, number of personas, buying group strength, and so forth. There's variables, and that's why you need to truly have a good data and engagement, first party, third party, especially, and first all of that to understand, is this account what I call sales ready? Again, everybody has a term for sales ready. If the account has, for example, 2 of the buying committee personas that have done 2 engagements each, and you know from your intent and research that this account should be really relevant to you because they bought 3 years ago a competitor and it's maybe time for renewal. Okay, that means that is a good qualification criteria to prioritize them maybe over a lead that is not, you're not sure is a good fit. Okay, that's what I mean by qualification and workflows here. It's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting a little bit more into kind of the AI side, which you led into. So let's kind of get into that. That's, AI for us at RevSure, we got this really powerful part of our platform that does AI-driven lead scoring, right? And what you typically have seen up until now, and we both have been working in industry for a while, is not a very dynamic lead scoring, right? They get stamped. If there's no activity there, they don't get reset for 60 to 90 days or something. But our AI lead driven system here is it's dynamic. It's changing every single day, right? If they engage with you multiple times a day, that's going to change, right? That account is going to change. The lead's going to impact those accounts and those opportunities. Give me your thoughts on this. Give me your thoughts on just the AI that we've been seeing within the
Holy
space,
Grail,
especially the last year.
It's the Holy Grail. So it is astounding to me because I work with 2 different worlds. I typically come from a larger, C+ round companies that are more complex, more sophisticated, multi-segment, multi-vertical, international. And there's a lot of complexity. So you need workflows, you need routing, different funnels, and you expect it there. There's work to be done. But also when I work with small startups as an advisor, I'm shocked how many times it's non-dynamic. It's very static, very simple scoring criteria, and sometimes even binary, hot or not. That's maybe a game for Facebook when they were invented, but that doesn't apply for leads. Hot or not is not a lead measurement. It's what about this threshold that is dynamic of not hot accounts, which are all your ICP ones that have engaged in awareness, engagement, content, all that. Okay, why should it be dynamic? Because you want to look at the top 20 every day, or the top 30 should be routed because you have 2 AEs. And right now, that's the capacity they can work in an effective manner across 3 personas. Secondly, is trends in the marketplace. There have been releases. There's more social information. How are you collecting the first, second, third party data? How are you driving all the information you're getting from anywhere public, including any ChatGPT or AI-driven sources? How are you collecting all the enrichment, all the waterfall methodology that's coming into place now for waterfall enrichment? And if you collect all of that together, Alex, then the dynamic scoring and assignment can have also a capacity-based approach, right? You are adding, okay, should we add another AE? Well, that question is not about quota only anymore. It's about coverage, but short-term coverage and managing it, throttling it. So one day your threshold of assignment can be, let's say, 60 points. A week later, it can be 40 points because you didn't do an event in August, and you're mostly based on digital, right? So it's an interesting, and I think very a good place for RevOps team, sales leaders, and also marketing demand leaders to say, well, it's not just how many leads, it's quality and capacity. How you're meeting that.
No, absolutely agree. And that's going to like really push into the next part, and that's tangible. Like these are tangible transition of the idea, right? The kind of the almost like the theology of that AI. You know, now this is transitioning into, okay, this is going to impact conversion rates, right? And this is going to impact how you prioritize those leads, which we covered on a little bit. And then also get into pipeline insights, right? Can it go directly into the middle of the funnel like we've discussed? Can it actually go to the bottom of the funnel, right?
Mhm.
How quick can it get it to the bottom of the funnel? Especially, you know, if you're trying to close enterprise accounts and they just want to buy now, you know, maybe it's a security company and they had a security breach, right? And they're looking at 3 vendors, you know, and you're one of the 3, right? I come from the technical background, you know, cloud infrastructure and security and DevOps. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is like top of the mind for me compared to, you know, top of the funnel lead, which could take 6 months for someone to nurture. But, you know, for some of these instances, you could really speed up your sales cycle. Well, you know, with the AI and knowing when to be able to prioritize and what they're engaging with. You know, I would love to kind of hear your thoughts from, especially from an executive level here, right? Like, what is something on this page here that really stands out to you?
Well, just touching upon that, what you mentioned before. So it's table stakes to have all the information at your fingertips about every account. That's table stakes now more than it was before. Years ago, I remember social selling and teaching AEs to create a Google alert on the company. Like, you don't do Google alerts anymore. You have agentic and AI driven abilities, whether with a solution like RevSure or some that you're doing on your own a little bit, combine those together. So you get like a true 360-degree view of every account that is now recent. It's like it's really even immediate. It's not
Mm,
stale from 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago when you did a batch import from whatever tool you use for enrichment, and you had a company offshore that looked at it and added like a number of followers, revenue. That like, no, it's got to be dynamic. If you're not dynamic, your data is already stale. Staleness of data is our acceptability of stale data is gone way down. During COVID, stale data was just the norm because people moved everywhere. Now, no, you can't have a stale data approach. You need dynamic, true, very relevant, the 2 days view of which company does what and what triggers and everything 360-degree with first party and everything. So until now, this conversation and what I mentioned of the 360-degree view of a company was mostly in the view of AE, sales manager, sales leader,
mm,
interlock meetings with RevOps, demand gen, maybe the people in charge of MOPS, marketing ops, and that it was at that level. If you are now as a company are thinking about the top 100 that you want to go after, and at the company level, you're not having an exec ambassador or the executive team understanding that this company just went on a merger, or this company just hired a new
mm,
CFO, or this company is now actually going reducing 25% of its traffic in the last week. That's showing a trend because maybe they are more investing in an event, or they are reducing their budget significantly because they don't have budget because they closed the shitty quarter last quarter. You got to know that at a company exec level because you can prioritize what are we doing as a company. It's not just sales anymore, right? It's not. So deep account database and CRM is not just a sales and marketing and ops thing anymore. Go to market needs to be able to feed up to the executive team about decision making criteria, because we might decide that segment 1 in region 3 is something that we quickly need to pivot out of because we're seeing that it's carrying a very high cost of CAC, but a very low return, and it's too long, versus the other one in a different place is worth it. So we need to make decisions quicker. And AI is our friend in doing that. Technology enables us to do that quicker.
absolutely. And that's what we like to say here is that AI is our friend, right? It's propelling us to make better decisions, to be able to make quicker summary decisions, right, at the executive level, right? You don't necessarily have to call everyone into a room, right? You know, and then make the decisions, and then you roll out a plan for that. Like, you can see these things at your fingertips, right, when the execs are on the road, right? And when you're in different meetings throughout the day, be able to get notified now in live time of what's happening. I think that's pretty vital. That's something that we're pretty proud of here. This is our time today, Alon. Thank you so much for joining us. We went over a great topic today about no lead left behind, about how to partner with across different go-to-market teams, and also just be able to level up at the executive level, right? How do you communicate? How do you move things through the pipeline faster? So again, so much. Thank you so much for your time today. This is Alon's information. We have his link for LinkedIn here for you to connect with him. He would love to chat with you. As well, feel free to reach on out. And again, Alon, thank you so much for your time today.
Always a pleasure. Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.